Hello, everybody. Welcome to our webinar today. Aspire to Be are proud to partner with Microsoft to bring you Fuel the Classroom webinars this month. We're a proud Microsoft global training partner at Aspire to Be, and we look forward to hosting these free webinars all month and more coming after half term, which I'll be announcing soon. And I'll talk a bit more later on as we go. But first, I'm going to go ahead and introduce myself before we get going. My name is Dean Garza. I have been in education for over 20 years, and that's in Wales, England, United States, and Japan. So along the way, I've used Microsoft that whole time and have really learned a lot from my colleagues. And I'm going to learn even more today from our presenters. But I've also had the opportunity to help with student teachers and PGC programs at UCL and Brunel University. And it's been exciting, to say the least, especially since coming aboard with Aspire to Be. I just want to make sure it's very clear if you have any questions while you're watching this live or as a recording, to send us any questions you might have about using Microsoft in the classroom, or you want to get more about information about anything that we present here in the webinar today. So if you take a look under my picture there, you'll see my Twitter tag, my LinkedIn account that you can connect with, and also my email. So if you're on the recording, feel free to go back and use these at any time to get a hold of me. Or I'll also show you how to get a hold of the Aspire to Be team in general. So if you need anything from there. All right, so let's move on to our agenda for today. What is the agenda? Well, today we're going to talk about specifically creativity and collaboration in the cloud and specifically in our classrooms. So, number one, I'm going to talk about why Microsoft and why now. And I'm going to talk a bit more about all the wonderful things Microsoft can offer you in your classroom, especially now as we're moving to more remote and hybrid learning models, as well as branching off of blended learning. And then we're going to segue into our presentations today. We have two wonderful presenters. Yaritza Villalba from YV Educational Resources is going to talk about FlipGrid with us and how she's using that wonderfully within her community in her classroom. And then Jennifer Hawkins from Willowtown Primary in Ebbw here in Wales is going to jump on and talk about coding with Minecraft Education Edition, and specifically how her coding club has started with Minecraft Education Edition and has really gained momentum. And then we're going to talk about your next steps in your MIE journey. As you know, for attending this webinar today, you're going to get a Microsoft Innovative Educator badge. We're going to give you a code, and at the end of the webinar, we're going to talk about how you can redeem that code to get your certificate and badge to use for your CPD. But we're also going to talk about how you can get a chance to win a free take at the Microsoft Certified Educator exam. So if you're looking to take that to show what you can do with Microsoft education apps, stay tuned and we'll talk all about that. All right, so let's move on here and let's talk about hybrid learning. Well, I want to move back on this slide a bit, because let's talk about what that actually is, because we all know the current climate calls for new ways to adapt to reaching our students at home and in the classroom, and that's what hybrid learning is all about. So the need for blended learning has never been higher, but Microsoft has the tools to help you start that journey, as well as create a true hybrid learning experience, and I'm going to talk a bit more about that. So, as we know, the face-to-face element is what we're used to as educators, and virtually now with Microsoft 365 tools to help facilitate classroom materials, discussions, and assignments. However, these elements are added with synchronous, in-person or virtual meets, and asynchronous, which are accessible at students' pace. We get some learning, and we get to develop a full picture of what's possible. Well, if now that we have kind of an overview of hybrid learning, let's take a look at our traditional classroom methods that have served us as educators well. It still has a place for helping students on their learning journeys. It's made up of synchronous and face-to-face elements. This means that students and teachers are in the same building, classroom learning together at the same time with interventions as needed by the teacher, as we all do. And again, that personalized learning, that engagement and relative or relevant material, I should say, supports those objectives. And this still has a place in the classroom. It is the most effective. But now we're starting to see more of a shift to blended learning. So this evolution of blended learning has come about for quite a bit. It's slowly coming in, and it's now at a head now. But that face-to-face element allows for teachers to flip the classroom with videos and screen recordings for their students. And blended learning allows for lessons to be previewed or carried on by students when not in the classroom. So that synchronous means together in the classroom, asynchronous means not learning at the same time, or they could be in different areas. They could be at home while maybe they're sick and they're still keeping up with what's going on in the classroom. And along the way, we still have that personalized approach. Everything is relevant and engaging through the educators that are running the classroom. So, what that brings us back to hybrid learning. So, we have that extra element now. So, bringing all those other ones together, and now we have virtual classrooms to facilitate these synchronous or asynchronous learning environments. So if you haven't used Microsoft Teams, for example, you would get all of these elements together. And not only will it support you in the classroom, but you can carry on what you need to outside the classroom. So, however, it doesn't replace traditional teaching, but it enhances it. And with recent occurrences, it gives teachers the ability to carry on lessons with students when they're not able to come into the school building. So as you can see, there's quite a bit here in terms of things that we're already doing as teachers and how we can see now how Microsoft can help us enhance that for our current needs. So why now? Why Microsoft now, especially with what's going on in the 21st century in terms of new skills that are going to help our students in their futures? Well, with the journey to hybrid learning and use of Microsoft 365 in the classroom, we can support the skills that are needed for tomorrow's workforce here today. And these are just some of them here. So, collaboration, creativity, innovation, skilled communication, handling information, real world problem solving, harnessing and sharing knowledge. So, I'm just going to talk about a few of these, and especially collaboration is such a big skill, especially now. Now, with the advent of Microsoft Teams, students are able to work together, like we said, synchronously or asynchronously. That means together in the classroom, or even if they're in the same building, in different rooms, and as well at home. And you can do that with many other apps, including the basic Office suite, such as Word and PowerPoint. And then we look at handling information, which aligns with the DCF in Wales, especially data and using it, specifically Microsoft Forms, Excel, and using those with real world problem solving skills. And if you've seen some of our Aspire Ed videos, you'll see how we put those things into practice and show you some real practical ways to use these ideas and topics. And we have some new Aspire Ed videos coming out very soon to help with that. So again, we're glad that you've joined us to see this today. And I'm going to cover one more thing before we move on, and that's how to put all of those ideas together, those 21st century classroom skills, and how to create an engaged digital classroom. So we take three of those elements, really four, but the main three here: communicate, collaborate, and we can create, all using some basic apps within Microsoft 365 for education. So we have Microsoft Teams, which is a digital hub that brings everything together in one place. And those of you that are sticking around for some of our hands on workshops after attending our Field of Classroom webinars, you'll be able to use Microsoft Teams together with our learning technologists and get a hands on feel for how that works. Also, FlipGrid adds video discussion, elevates personal engagements and shared community, which you'll see some examples today from our presenters. And OneNote, which organizes all of your resources and provides structure for student work. And lastly, everyone's favorite, PowerPoint offers video lessons, captions, and translator. And one of my favorites, actually, but a lot of so many features that a lot of people don't even realize are in PowerPoint, but it is a great tool. All right. So I think that's enough for me. So what I'm going to do now is move into our first presenter today. We're very excited to have her today, Yaritza Villalba. She is president, founder of YB Educational Resources. She's got 11 years of teaching experience, and she started her career teaching social studies to high school students in Bed-Stuy, Brooklyn, New York. She's currently a lead teacher at school that supports students who are overaged and undercredited, which I'll talk about in just a bit. Most recently, she's been certified as an MIE expert, FlipGrid guide, Apple teacher, Wakelet community leader, and FlipGrid student voice ambassador. We're very, very lucky to have her today. So, Yaritza, are you there?
Yes, I am here. Hi,
Great.
guys.
Thanks for coming today, and we're really excited to learn from you.
Thank you for having me. I'm so excited, as you can
Excellent.
see.
I'll tell you what, I'm gonna hand it over to you now.
Okay.
And then if you don't mind, I'm gonna pop back in and we'll have a little chat afterwards, all right?
Oh, that's fine. That sounds great.
Okay.
So, hey guys, I am Yaritza Villalba. I am here today to actually discuss with you guys how I've used FlipGrid to not only engage my students, but my community. And what I mean by community is just staff and also parents. I know most of us, when we think about FlipGrid, the first thing that comes to mind is how we can only focus on students. And what I decided to do was to actually use FlipGrid as a skill builder for my parents. So let's jump into it. So, as Dean mentioned, I am the founding president of YB Educational Resources, and I am also a social studies teacher for the New York City Department of Education. Most recently, I became an MIE expert, and throughout the slides, I'll discuss my reasons why and why I also use Aspire to Be as one of the platforms for actually getting certified. So, when choosing platforms, I always ask myself certain questions. So, I teach overage undercredited students, which means they're students who probably should have graduated high school 4 years ago. They've had difficulties in schools, which means with choosing platforms, I have to be very specific with not only thinking about engagement or if it's fun, but if it will actually tie into the needs of all of my students. So these are actually a few questions that I ask myself. Do I teach L's? The answer is yes. Do I have students who have IEPs? Yes. Do I have students who struggle with reading and writing? Of course. Are all of my students tech savvy? No. And sometimes as educators, we believe that because students have cell phones, that makes them tech savvy. And what I've learned, especially throughout this pandemic and with remote learning, is that I was absolutely wrong. And then the most important question here: do all of my students have laptops, iPads, and computers at their disposal 24/7? So that means all day. That answer, when I asked myself that question, was no, because my students actually share devices with their younger siblings, or they did not have devices at all. And so, with using FlipGrid, it was a way for me to reach all of my students, but to also allow them to do it whenever they were available. So, let's dig into some of the activities. Three ways that I've effectively used FlipGrid for equity and inclusion: social emotional learning, to increase engagement, and to increase parent engagement. I used all three of these to actually create an ideal classroom community for a hybrid setting, so face to face and virtual. SEL. SEL is very important. So if you think about social and emotional learning, we should focus on 5 core competencies. So that's self-awareness, self-management, responsible decision making, social awareness, and also relationship skills. These are all things that students desire and students need. It should not just be done in isolation, but incorporated into our everyday practices. So, this is actually an example of a FlipGrid activity that I created for students, and it's called the First Day Talent Share. And I know you may be thinking in your mind, talent share, everyone's dancing. And actually, when you think of talent, I see it as a way that a kid can actually contribute to the community. And so I ask questions like, what is your first name? How are you feeling today? Because remember, building healthy relationships is core. It is so important. If you cannot build relationships with students, how do you ever expect students to actually submit work for you, or to even engage in your classroom, or to want to communicate when they're having difficulties? And then what are some skills or talents that you can contribute as a learner to this community? And what I found out was a lot of students discuss their ability to use their hands, not so much as, hey, Ms. V, well, my talent is reading and writing, but more of I can build, I can sing, I can dance. And what I did was I used that talent share and those FlipGrid submissions as ways to guide my practices and my classes. So I actually wanted to share with you guys the video that I showed kids. When you think of FlipGrid, you have options of giving students instructions. You can upload a Jiffy, you can upload a YouTube, but I always like actually creating videos for my students. Not only does it help my students with disabilities, but it also helps those students who may feel the need to pause, probably tend to their siblings, and then get back to it. It allows students a chance to revisit instructions. But also in a virtual setting, I'm not able to see my students as much. So I have to bring some hype into the class. So here's the video that I used for students. Hey guys, welcome to Summer in the City 2020 with Miss V. I don't know any of you guys, but I am so pumped and hyped to be here today for this assignment. I literally just want you guys to just let me know how you're feeling. Let me know what skills you may have that can contribute to this learning environment. And so I'll start off. My name is Miss V, as I said. You've seen it on your schedules as Miss Villalba. I am Panamanian. How am I feeling today? I'm a bit tired. I'm anxious because I'm like, I want to meet you guys. I want to hug you. I want to say welcome, but I also want to let you know that I'm here for you. A talent or a skill that I have that can contribute to this learning environment. Oh, that's the bus. You're going to always hear the bus. One talent or skill that can contribute to our learning environment is my openness and my willingness to collaborate. I feel like this is essential, especially for virtual learning, but also with learning in general. I'm here, I am open, I am ready to assist you guys, and I'm ready to make it happen. So with this introduction, what I believe made it so interesting was that I began with a song that students knew and understood. I had to figure out ways to draw in students that I've never met before. So if you even have me on social, you know that this summer I taught 720 students within 6 weeks, which is unheard of. But there was such a decrease of teachers who actually wanted to teach summer school. And so most of those students actually were thrown my way. Next to the video, I have 2 examples of what students submitted. So I want to be very clear before I move on. With FlipGrid, I do not make it a requirement for students to always use videos. So when understanding who my students are or introducing myself to students, I want students to feel as free and comfortable as possible to submit work however they feel fit. And so these were 2 students who I've never met before, but what I realized was, okay, one person likes to get work done in time and she likes to do it correctly, and the other one is a great reader. And so I don't mind giving one student tasks that's written, and the other student, maybe I may decrease the time that I give her to actually complete the task. This is a totally fun way to get to know your students without saying it has to be a video. So, in speaking of increasing student engagement, I love FlipGrid. I mean, can't you tell? Like, I have on a shirt. I love FlipGrid. But the reasons why is because you can use the videos to articulate a criteria for success. You can use the videos to actually explain to students what is it that you're grading them on. What are the endless possibilities? You have this camera that you can actually use to create a whiteboard or a blackboard. And for my students who most live in a shelter, they don't want you to see the background of their homes. They may not want you to see who lives with them. And so having that blackboard and whiteboard feature is perfect. It actually increases engagement. FlipGrid motivates my students to produce high quality of work. And the way it happens is because with FlipGrid as a platform, you can app smash. And so I don't know how many of you guys actually heard of that, but it's usually when you take more than one platform together and you infuse them. And so in my classroom, the kids love to use iMovie and FlipGrid. They love to use Google Slides and FlipGrid. And I'll show you today how they use it, but also their comfortability with it. I am not perfect. My students are not perfect. And so the first week, yes, I'm constantly giving instructions on how to use the camera because it has so many features. But once you show students just the possibilities because of those features, your classroom is going to be fully engaged. But also now as an educator, you can actually sit back and allow students to take ownership of their own learning. It is going to encourage students to express themselves in a way that no one ever has before with pen and paper. So ways that I've used FlipGrid to increase student engagement. One was by actually having students do presentations. And I know this sounds a little weird, but I gave a project. It was called the Unsung Heroes Project. And the students had to Google different historical figures that we've never heard of in textbooks and actually app smash. So they had to use one other platform besides FlipGrid and create a presentation in which they basically say reasons why this person should have been in textbooks. Now, the way that I did the presentations was I sent students the same exact instructions that you may see at the bottom on the left-hand side, which means welcome. You made it. So if you had this link, that means you were chosen to share your project. What the kids didn't know is that every student received the link, but it made them feel special. And so what I did was I created mixtapes, and within those mixtapes, I actually had students present their work. When students were presenting, I actually shifted the approach and created a gallery walk. We know of gallery walks, especially in face-to-face learning. But how many of you guys have actually created gallery walks using virtual learning? I use Nearpod as a app smash. And what I had students doing is not only discussing their presentations, but giving each other feedback on Nearpod. And so I wanted to actually share with you guys how this looks, because within this approach, I've learned so much about my students' positivity to each other, their willingness to collaborate, and also just having fun, having them watch each other and see how hard they've worked. So check this video out.
Multi-talented actress, inventor. You may not know her before, but now you do. Hedy Lamarr. Since a little girl, this star always wanted to invent. Even used to take apart her music box and put them back together just cause. What she's best known for is inventing frequency hopping. Instead of just one transit frequency communicating, she said, what if we change these frequencies constantly in sync with each other? This is called frequency hopping. This was a way to secretly listen to the Nazis that couldn't be jammed or interrupted. Not also listen, but to keep the enemy from interfering with ships' torpedoes. She got a patent and then donated it to the U.S. military to fight Nazis. Way to go, sis. She took beauty and brains to a whole nother level, if I do say so myself. Between shoots and takes, she'll go on her trailer and work on her inventions. BTW, those weird voiceovers you see me in are actual Hedy Lamarr's interviews. She's the one responsible for Bluetooth, Wi-Fi, you name it.
So what I loved about this was the idea that my students actually not only app smashed, but I was actually able to share it with the superintendent of New York City Department of Education Schools and also the principal. And so my students were able to present and share their findings on historical figures that were not included in textbooks. And then they used FlipGrid to not only upload it, but to add more video footage of themselves. That's what makes FlipGrid an ideal platform. Students can edit, students can pause, students can revisit, and this is all prior to submission. So, what teacher does not want to use FlipGrid? As I said before, I fell in love with FlipGrid. So, another way that I've increased student engagement through the use of FlipGrid was by allowing students to actually share peer-to-peer feedback and collaboration. I would ask students questions like, how are you doing today? And please let me know what project you chose. And after the students actually let me know what project they choose, they would then have to search for another person in their class and give them feedback or ask questions for wanderings. And so these were two students who actually engaged in feedback and collaboration. And I actually wanted to share with you guys because this is a great strategy to use, especially if you just want students to collaborate, but you don't want to leave the platform itself. You can use FlipGrid just for it.
Morning, guys. I'm okay. I'm a little tired from Miss Bloom's activities, but I'm okay. So far, I'm feeling a little better because we're almost there. Almost there to graduate, so I'm a little hyped. But I'm in school, and I miss you guys. I really do. Today I will be talking about the person I chose was Lewis Howard Latimer. I can't really give you too much details as yet, but that's the person I chose. I hope you guys enjoy yourself and be safe. Stay home.
So before I go to the next student, what I wanted to express with you guys and to share with you guys was this was a student that at the beginning of the school year, he did not like speaking. And he did his work, of course, but when it came down to sharing his thoughts or when it came down to sharing his feelings, that was something I had to always force out of him. And when I say force, it was almost like I just kept having to ask, how are you today, Jurgen? And how are you going to do in a basketball game? And I tried to give him different scenarios or different conversations so that we can build relationships. Once I began to use FlipGrid, it made it easier for me to see this side of him. It actually made it easier for him to collaborate with his classmates. The music that you heard in the background was his. I was even surprised that he added music to his video when I had first seen it, but also he said something that stood out to me the most, and which was that he missed us. And so when we go back to SEL and we think about relationship skills and relationship building and self-awareness, I knew that virtual learning has shifted everything that my students knew about what school was. And so I had to take a step back and not so much focus on the academics, but more on just constantly engaging my students with the question, how are you feeling today? Because honestly, we don't know who's asking our students this at home. And here was his reply.
Hey man, we both have the same topic, so let me know if you want to share any ideas, or if I have, I'll share it with you. Okay, have a great day.
This was another student who honestly, I'm laughing because Kazi did not like speaking to anyone, including me. He was just one of those students who he would come into the back of the classroom. He'll do the work. He'll grab an iPad or a laptop, and he worked independently. And when I introduced the thought of FlipGrid, he loved it because not only did it allow him to continue working independently, but it gave him a choice of collaboration. It gave him a choice of who he wanted to collaborate with or to give feedback to. And these two, yes, they shared the same historical figure, but they did not work together. Jurgen actually ended up creating the entire movie that he filmed in his backyard. And Kazi actually used Powtoon to create cartoons and upload it into the FlipGrid. So let's go on to parent engagement. And I'm going to say this again, parent engagement. I know a lot of educators who struggle in engaging parents, and it's not because you haven't tried, but more so there's a huge space between us. At the same time we're working, parents are working. By the time they get home, they're as tired as we are. And so with using FlipGrid, I was able to foster healthy relationships with both parents and guardians, because I understood that if I had them as a support system, then they'll be able to support my students when I'm unable to do so, which means at home. What you have in front of you is one of my first FlipGrids that I actually sent out to parents, and it was a talent show. It was MCV's talent show. And what I did was I welcomed parents into the class, and I just basically said, in order to redeem this ticket, you will now have to upload a video of yourself singing or dancing to a song that expresses how you're feeling today. And it took a while for parents to actually engage. It was more of the parents were looking at my video, which, yes, I definitely did a talent. I actually sung to Mary J. Blige. And when the parents finally started submitting videos, you had some parents submit videos like Bruno Mars's Lazy Song. And so she expressed how tired she was. I had another parent who played the piano. And so what I did was I created everything that the parents submitted, and I created it into a mixtape, and I shared that with the students. Now, what that did was it also showed my students that their parents were doing the same exact tasks that I was asking them to do. I don't know if students made the connection of parents actually learning the same skill, because believe it or not, I also had to teach the parents how to upload documents and how to press record or how to use the black or white screen. And so when we think about fostering a community of learners, this is exactly how we do it. You facilitate skill development within parents. That way, when they're home with kids, the second half of the day, they're actually able to implement those tasks and to complete those tasks with students. Here are other examples of parent engagement that I did throughout the year. Songs of encouragement and the virtual speed dating. A lot of folks love the virtual speed dating, and I used it actually to conference with parents. I realized I had way too many parents to meet with virtually in the same exact day. And so I sent out a phone blast to parents. I shared with them the link to the FlipGrid. And what parents had to do was they had to post a video that stated the time that they were available for me to give them a call, whether they wanted the call virtually or just by phone, what student we were going to discuss. But also what that did was it allowed the other parents who tuned into the video to see what time slots were already taken. Guys, I revolutionized how to conference with parents. And then songs of encouragement. This was a tough year for all of us. Our students felt it, our parents felt it, and guess what? We're still feeling it. And so I asked parents to create songs of encouragement. And this is actually what I'm going to share with you guys in the next slide. And what a song of encouragement is exactly what it sounds like. When we were growing up, there was specific music that allowed us to calm down or get hyped or, get amped up for a party. What I wanted was for parents to share songs that reminded them to not give up. And what I actually discovered were parents knew songs that I grew up with or that I didn't even know. But also this next parent, she took the time out to sing not only to her child, but to all of us. And so I wanted to share it with you guys because it is a song of encouragement. And even though this was a parent activity, I actually sent it to every student in my class.
Hello, Rachel and friends. This is just a song of encouragement that I want to leave with you all. I know that you all had a hard year this year, some harder than others. And we wasn't expecting COVID to come along and to be out of school, to be learning from home and going through some of the things that you've gone through since you've been home. But I want to leave the song with you as a song of encouragement. And it says, I don't feel no waste time. I come too far from where I started from. Nobody told you that the road would be easy, but you don't believe. I don't believe that God has brought you this far to leave you. Be encouraged. Have a blessed year.
So why is it important? Sometimes as teachers, we don't have all of the answers. And so why not bring in the people who have raised these kids for so long? And in my case, my students are 16 to 21 years old. And some of them may not have strong bonds with their parents. Some of them may not even know their parents. And so songs of encouragement is what allowed me to make a stronger connection with my students. Sometimes, and I know as a student, you don't always want to see your teacher's face on somewhere. And so having parents contribute to my classroom meant the world to me. The fact that they wanted to engage and the fact that I created the opportunity for them to engage was just the best thing ever. So these were the instructions, and it actually was longer than this. If a parent could choose one song, rap, or instrumental that has guided them and has encouraged them throughout their childhood, then they can use that to encourage their child. This was so great. And when I shared it with students, they were so surprised. And, you know, that student in particular, she was just like, I actually want to sing with my mom now because I never knew she could sing. And so this was a great opportunity. Now, winding down, I wanted to take some time out to discuss the Discovery Library. So if you haven't yet accessed FlipGrid Discovery Library, most of the activities that I actually showed you guys today, it's on there. As you can see, there's 31 activities. As of yesterday, there's now 33 because I created more activities yesterday. Yes, that's LeBron. I created an activity for my PLN the other day. It's called Singing to Your Own Tune, and it's actually around SEL as well. And so just explaining how you're feeling and what's one song that actually just guides your day. And so with the Discovery Library, you can explore so many topics that were created by the FlipGrid community, including myself. And these topics, honestly, they're there to help you as teachers. You know, we can't do it all on our own. So they're there to help you. They're there to guide you. I've used it as a system to guide myself. But also these collections, if you haven't visited yet, you should, because you can actually find things according to your discipline. So if you teach history, if you teach math, if you teach ELA, if you're just a teacher leader and you want to do professional development, there's a ton of things up there for you to do. And so I've shared my link on this page with you guys. And later, if you find me on Twitter, I'll share it with you guys again. Because this is so helpful. So my next page, I wanted to sit on it for a bit because I wanted to show you guys. Dean had mentioned in my intro that I managed to do all of these things within the past few months. Virtual learning has been a blessing for me, and is a blessing in disguise. I was able to focus on myself a bit. And in focusing on myself, I was actually able to get certified in so many different apps that I probably would have never attempted to do if we didn't go virtual. And so even with discussing Aspire to Be, of course I use their platform because as teachers, we need platforms that speak to us as individuals. Aspire to Be actually spoke to me as an individual because it was easy to understand. Some platforms are just so difficult, but I was able to not only do things for Google, but things for Microsoft with Aspire to Be, like learn Microsoft Teams and become an MIE. And so I just wanted to remind you guys that your speed doesn't matter. Forward is forward. No matter how long it takes you to do certain things, going forward is forward. If it takes you 10 days, if it takes you 15 days, I was able to do all of this within 5 months, but not everyone has the same amount of time that we have. And so I just wanted to share this with you guys because the possibilities are endless. And so, thank you guys so much for today. I've had a blast sharing with you guys FlipGrid. I'm Yaritza Villalba. I am the founding president of YV Educational Resources. You can always find me. I'm here to collaborate and to assist. Thank you.
Thank you, Yaritza. That was great. I learned a lot there watching everything that you just presented. So thank you for that. And I'm definitely going to become a grid pal with you.
Yes.
Well, I got a couple of questions for you, and I'm sure there might be some questions from people who are either watching live or are going to watch the recording, and they're going to, oh, I should have asked this question. But the first thing is, I always start with the well-being part. How are you doing, and how are your colleagues doing during the recent COVID, I guess, state of affairs?
So, Dean, as you can see, I'm in my classroom. My students are not back yet. So they were supposed to be back 2 weeks ago. So if you've heard anything about New York City schools, they made the decision 2 weeks ago when we were actually supposed to enter school that students would not start until the 21st face-to-face, but tomorrow they start virtually. And so how we're doing, I think we're holding up.
That seems to be the theme with all the teachers that we're talking to so far during these webinars, and that's a big element. I think, like you said as well, that well-being, when you focus on that, it comes to a front now in situations like this, and it makes it a bit easier, even though it's not easy, but it makes it easier, doesn't it?
Oh, for sure, for sure.
So, with FlipGrid, I know it's helped, and you showed lots of ways it's helped, but anything specifically coming up this year that you're going to change, or maybe you might have to adapt to help you with the remote learning aspect?
So what I played around a lot with this summer was actually creating small PBL tasks or project-based learning tasks. What I realized was, so I've been teaching for 11 years. And I realized that half of those years I've been teaching wrong. And what I mean by that is I've been following everyone else's instructions and not focusing on what my students actually wanted me to do. And so this summer, I dedicated the 3 months to just focusing on how could I teach history through the lens of my students? And so I've actually worked on comic book activities where students would actually give superhero powers to historical figures and it would change the trajectory, right? So if Harriet Tubman actually, and I know this sounds funny, had superpowers, how many slaves could she have saved? And so just looking at change of continuity and also allowing students to think about the problems around them and how can we be better advocates for ourselves. So yes, Dean, a lot of changes. Wow. And I'm actually going to use FlipGrid for every single PBL task.
Excellent. Project-based learning. And I've got to say that we do have a project-based learning course on Aspire Ed, if anyone out there wants to get some info on that. And speaking of that, you talked about your Aspire Ed, and that's how we got to meet, was you took our Aspire Ed course on Microsoft Teams originally. Mm-hmm. And now that you've talked about having that time to go through these courses with our platform and others, how much value do you think Aspire Ed can add to a teacher's toolkit?
So honestly, prior to remote learning, so we've always had Microsoft in New York City Department of Education. I just never paid it attention. I think it's because, once you have something that's a requirement, it's just like, I have to do this. I stumbled upon Aspire to Be, and I was just clicking and clicking. And I was like, okay, let me do this. But what I realized was there's a lot of certifications that I have. With Aspire to Be, I actually learned about Microsoft Teams. And that's the difference between Aspire to Be and other platforms that actually offer certification. It's not really teaching you. It's answer 5 questions and you get certified. with Aspire to Be, I was actually able to take myself through the different tasks and to say, okay, so this is how teams goes, and this is how I could set up a different team or join a team or create a video. And so what I would say to teachers as well is you're going to want to use Aspire to Be as a platform because it shows you a better way to learn. It's not based off of recalling information. It's based off of analyzing and making sure that it's hands-on and you can, minimize the page and make sure that you're doing it right. And so that's what I loved about Aspire to Be.
Wow, that's great, guys. Thank you very much. Is there anyone out there that you would like to credit for introducing you to FlipGrid, or is it just one of those things like as teachers we kind of stumble upon, or is there anyone who's kind of inspired you to try it, or maybe even kind of use it in a certain way?
So a year ago, one of my colleagues, Kizzy Thompson, she actually introduced FlipGrid to me, and I didn't use it. Because there was so much going on here in regards to me helping other teachers out, because I am responsible for other disciplines. So even though I teach social studies, I was responsible for all of the teacher meetings, all the professional development. And so I didn't really have time to play around with different platforms. It wasn't until this March that I actually sat down and learned FlipGrid. And once I learned it, I reintroduced it to the entire school. So I do give Kizzy the credit, because even though I didn't use it last year, I put it in my pocket. And thank God I have good pockets, because then I was able to, take it out and put it on the table and use it.
But you use it whenever you need it.
Right.
Well, okay. Well, last question. Sorry, I got tons of questions. The more I talk to you, I got more questions coming up. The next one is, in every school, we have, this is just a matter of fact, you have a lot of teachers that take on board lots of new ideas and initiatives, such as yourself. And then we have other teachers who have a system that works and question, why should I use this? And I kind of got into that at the beginning and in a formal way, and we talked about enhancing teaching and learning. But in particular with FlipGrid, is what about FlipGrid what makes it attractive to teachers who are reluctant to use technology?
To me, FlipGrid is personalized learning. Um, like I mentioned, my students are overage and undercredited, which means they've already experienced the 4 years of high school. And so I have students who have been in high school for 8 years. And so what would I possibly tell a student that has been in high school for 8 years that they haven't heard before? With FlipGrid, it allows the students to tailor it to their own interests. It's not, oh, Ms. V wants me to use this color screen. It's, this is what I feel like today. This is the expression that I'm going to add. This is the sticker that I'm going to add. And if I just don't want to use FlipGrid at all, I'll use Google Slides, upload it, and do a voiceover on FlipGrid. So that's what I love about it. It's personalized learning. I never get the same 2 projects, which I know some teachers are probably like, this is crazy. How does she grade it? I create rubrics for everything. And I learned that by creating rubrics and actually uploading the rubrics to FlipGrid, I'm guiding my students' learning. So that's what I love about FlipGrid. It's
Yeah.
personalized.
Yeah, that rubrics feature is great. So there's no question on what
Right.
you want. And then when you give that feedback, there's no mystery behind why you gave the feedback you gave. So that's great.
And the
Well,
option video feedback.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Yaritza, thank you very much. I appreciate you coming today and sharing your vast experience now with FlipGrid.
Thank you, Dean.
And we will have more webinars coming up in December. We hope Yaritza will join us for those as well.
Of course, I'm looking forward to it. Thank you,
All
guys.
right. Well, you have a great week. And again, make sure you take time to breathe and relax a bit.
Thank you, Dean. Bye, guys.
Advice I give all my teachers right now because there's a lot of things going on. So thanks a lot.
Thank you. Thank you. I appreciate
All
you.
right. Thank you very much. Well, I'm going to go ahead and get back to kind of on the topic we left off with Yaritza and talking about Aspire Ed. And I'm just going to go over a couple of things before we get to our next presenter. So first off, if you are interested more in FlipGrid, I want to go over the next steps for continuing your journey with us and Microsoft. So we're going to have some Inspiration Day hands-on sessions. They're going to be in a different format from our YouTube live sessions. So you're going to be able to actually use the different tools that we're talking about, and FlipGrid will be one of those. So if you want to be involved in that, go ahead and take a look at our registration page that you originally went to register for this webinar. And also, If you look at our Microsoft EDU courses on Aspire Ed and you are attending the webinar today, or if you've registered, you'll get a 50% off code. And I think Craig's going to pop that on the screen if he hasn't already yet. And that's for now until I'm not sure when that is going to expire, but I would take advantage now because 50% off is a pretty good deal. In fact, I'm going to talk a bit about AspireEd, not to take too much time away from our next presenter, but I get really excited when I take a look at our AspireEd admin and we get to see all the international users of AspireEd. And you just saw that it's from New York City. We also have users from England, Wales, Scotland, Northern Ireland, all over globally. And I even know some friends back in Texas who have taken some of our courses and given lots of positive feedback. But I just wanted to go over what makes Aspired unique and stands out amongst the other platforms. And I think one of those we've already heard that it not only just gives you a badge, but it also teaches you how to actually use the apps and gives you practical takeaways. So let's talk a bit more about that. Well, Aspire Ed is truly digital empowerment. And when we say that, we mean that you're using the technology. And like we mentioned earlier, it's about bringing that technology into the classroom and enhancing what you're doing, not taking the place of it, but enhancing what you're doing. And all of the courses on Aspire Ed, they're developed by educators for educators. In fact, if you add up all the experience of the teachers and educators in the Aspire Ed office, you might be there for a while, counting on your fingers and even more. But all of them were created by our educators with their vast global experience. And the value of Aspire Ed, it's very cost effective. The digital courses are accessible anytime, anywhere. And that is true blended learning. As we said, it is something that you can do at any time at your own pace. And you can always contact us if you need any extra help with that. The targeted content of Aspire Ed. So we highlight the right tools that actually work. And if your school, I should say, subscribes to Aspire Ed, you get to choose from all the courses, the ones that will particularly be in line with what your school's vision is for their digital empowerment and embedding that technology. So have a look and take a look through the vast catalog, which is in Welsh and English, and the wide appeal of it. It's relevant to every educator in every phase of education. As you can see, we've had teachers from early years all the way to university take our courses, and there's even some in other professions that have joined in to take a look at how to go around using classrooms and Microsoft Teams, as well as our other videos. They're pedagogically focused. So every course and every video and activity reflects real world of teaching and learning. Again, to go back with to what Yaritza said about our course, our teams course that she took, we go in, we make sure that the videos are not only explaining what you need to know, but they give you something practical to take away. And that's one thing that we really pride ourselves on is there's something you can use right away. And in fact, we usually give you resources as well to replicate what we do on the videos if that's what you want to do. The digital portfolio, educators gain digital badges, and those badges really mean something, as Rita's shown you, and evidencing. So schools, as a school, when you subscribe, you're able to track and monitor progress, and you can build into your performance management as a school. And it's future proof. Course libraries will continue to expand. And in fact, we're making new videos as we speak, and we're going to try to get those updated as soon as possible. And all of these videos are practical and they have very useful resources to take away. And the expertise, opportunities to book strategy and support calls with us as learning technologists with Aspire to Be is always there. In fact, if you have any questions, I'll give you some contact info in addition to the contact info I gave you earlier. So I'm going to go back here and introduce our next presenter. And our next presenter is Jennifer Hawkins from Willowtown Community Primary School in Evervale here in Wales. She is currently a reception teacher. She was previously a year 4 teacher. In fact, when Aspire to Be first met Jen, I think she was in year 4. But she's completed the Google, Microsoft, and Minecraft training with Aspire to Be and is a Microsoft Innovative Educator. She currently runs the Willowtown Coding Club and has had great success getting students excited and engaged with coding. All right, Jennifer, are you there?
Hello. Yes, I am. I'm just working out how to share my screen. Sorry.
That's fine. You know what? Just a quick one, Jen. I know the relationship with Willowtown and Aspire to Be goes back for quite a while, and I'm going to let you take over in just a second. But just to let you know, at the end after you're done, I'll have a quick question and answer with you. But just to kind of give everyone a quick background, Willowtown Primary was one of not actually one of our first schools to use Minecraft Education Edition training, and they're still using it. And that's kind of kind of bridge into what Jen's going to present today, talking about coding. So, how are we looking, Jen? Okay,
Yeah, I'm sorry. I'm just looking for the option to share my screen.
that's all right.
I
And
I can't see it.
okay, I think there it's at the bottom. It should be a little menu bar.
Yeah, I haven't got it. Sorry. I've just got like mic, cam, chat, and leave.
That's fine. Okay. Well, while we're waiting for that, here we
Sorry.
go. That's all right. At the bottom there should be a share screen button.
No, I haven't got one. I'm using my iPad. Would that be
Ah,
why?
that might be it. That's okay. I'll tell you what. Why don't we? Can you get to a PC and get back with us?
I haven't got it all on my PC. Sorry, because I haven't got Minecraft on there.
That's fine, Jen. I'll tell you what. While you're here with us, we can kind of go over some of the things that really are the questions I was going to ask you about the coding aspect of Minecraft, and we can go into that later. Is that all right? Oh, hello. Oh, I think Jen got cut off. Okay, well, she'll come back in just a moment. What we'll do in the meantime, just wanted to go back here and let's take a look. Wanted to make sure we get everything we need to do today. And what I'll do is I'll cover some of the items to get in contact with us while we're waiting for Jen to come back. And one of those is in social media. So one of the great things about Microsoft and Aspire to be working together is you get to have a large forum of other teaching professionals sharing best practices, resources, and training, okay, to help you deliver those lessons that you want to your students or to help you get started. I know it seems daunting sometimes listening to other teachers talk about how they're using technology, especially if you're taking your first steps. But if you join these social media groups, you'll well be on your way, along with joining the Microsoft Educator community and Aspire Ed. So on Twitter, MS Education UK, Facebook, Microsoft UK Education, and on YouTube, Microsoft EDU. In fact, you'll find tons of videos there to help you out. And here's some more information. If you have questions about anything today, or you want to follow up on anything particular from this webinar, or if you have information on upcoming webinars, feel free to email first off, if it's about Microsoft, edu community UK at Microsoft.com. Anything specifically about the webinars or registrations, email us here at info@aspiretobe.eu. And wait, move on here. Here we go. At the end of the session, we're just going to go into this as well. So at the end of the session, I'm going to have an evaluation form that I'm going to send all of our attendees today. So as soon as we're done today, I'm going to send you this evaluation form. It's actually a sneak preview right here. And we're going to, once we get all those evaluation forms, we are going to have a draw to give away a free voucher to take a Microsoft Certified Educator exam for free. Now, I know that seems a lot, especially if you're just starting to use Microsoft, but it is something that you can keep. And when you're ready to use it, it is the voucher that you can use. And if you need more information about that, feel free to contact us. I just wanted to go through this and also the other benefit of filling out our evaluation form and sending it back to us is it provides us with more ways to provide free webinars in the future. Okay, so I'm going to be sending that out in just a moment. And lastly, oops, don't want to go to the last slide yet. All right. So, Jen, do you mind if we do some Q&A? Are you there? Jennifer? Okay, I think she's coming back on in just a second. When Jennifer is, oh, I'll tell you what I'm going to do is we're going to give Jennifer a few minutes, and I'm going to go ahead and give out the code at the moment for our Microsoft Innovative Educator for attending this session today. And that's going to be this code right here. So I'm going to give the code first, and I'm going to show you how to redeem it, especially if you want to get your badge, just like the one here on the screen, and also to get your certificate to go along with it. I'll be showing this again at the end after we talk to Jennifer, but I just wanted to give you that now. And if you have not been to the Microsoft Education Center before, you would have to go to education.microsoft.com. Okay, so when you go to that web page, you will be asked to create an account. Those teachers that are in Wales can use the Office 365 option when you're creating an account and use your hub details, your login there to create an account, or you can use the Microsoft option and use your personal Outlook or Hotmail account. Those are the two options that you can use. Okay, and then once you've created an account, you can go up to the top right-hand corner of the screen and click on your initials, and you will see this drop-down menu. It will say Redeem Achievement Code. And once you have that screen, you'll put in your code here, redeem, and you'll get credit for attending the session today. And so for some of you who have never visited the Microsoft Educator Center, it is a great place to access free professional development resources based on Microsoft's education technology stack. So what can you find there? Well, you can find just-in-time training courses and robust learning paths. So just in time in terms of things that you've kind of put off and maybe now you just need to know it right away, and it's very condensed and it's to the point. And there's also lesson plans for STEM and digital skills. So one of the unique things about the Educator Center is that people share lesson plans and ideas, and you might even find resources as well. And you can begin your journey with the Microsoft Innovative Educator programs, which you'll be doing today once you put your code into your redeem area for the top of the menu when you create your account today. And again, if you have questions about that, or if you have any issues redeeming that code, give us a call or email us. You'll also find some topical resources such as the Family Resource Center unique to the Microsoft Educator community. And you can set up an account to redeem points, badges, and a transcript. The transcript is your history of all the professional development you've used or taken on the Educator community site, and you'll have that there to present for any professional development evidence. It's really great. I encourage you to really take a look at that when you have the time. All right, so Jennifer's going to be back in just a moment. I think she's switching over to a PC. Just to kind of get things started before we talk to her is Jennifer is going to talk about her coding club at Willowtown Primary Community. And when I last met with the staff at Willowtown Primary School, we had a session with coding, in particular in Minecraft Education Edition and coding in general. And what has happened since 2 years ago, that the school has really had a very successful coding club begin. In fact, we had some visitors from the Welsh government go to Willowtown Primary to see all of that progress, and as well as the STEM activities that they've been running with the Go Construct experience and education programs that we also run. So it's been very exciting to see that develop. And what we're going to do is just have a chat with Jennifer and to see how that started and how it's going from that point. Oops, let me get back here. All right, here we go. And lastly, before we get started, I do want to give a, I just do want to give a quick heads up preview of what's coming up on the Inspiration Day webinars we have, as we talked about earlier. Those of you that are watching the webinar today, that are not able to, or actually, if you get inspired by something that we've talked about and you want to get more hands on with what we're doing today, is we're going to have the opportunity for you to join in and use these tools. Some of them are going to be Microsoft Teams as well as FlipGrid. We're also going to take a look at OneNote. PowerPoint will be involved. It's not going to be the focus of, but in particular, we're going to talk about Teams in terms of how to communicate and collaborate within Teams. We're also going to take a look at how this digital hub is everywhere. It brings in everything, and you really will never have to leave Teams once we show you how to utilize all the aspects of Team. You will never have to leave that hub to get anything going. That goes from presentation of lessons, that also goes from assigning work and marking work. That also goes for communicating with staff and students within your school. Everything is documented and everything is straightforward. And in fact, if you haven't used Microsoft Teams, take a look at our Aspire Ed course. It's to the point, like we said, very, very helpful videos and practical, and you can get your badge as well from Aspire to be at the end. We also have a course on FlipGrid if you haven't done that. Again, all of these courses are updated so constantly to try to keep up with the app. And I know FlipGrid's just had some new updates recently, but it's still at the core. It has grids, topics, and responses that you can use within Microsoft Teams to fuel discussion in your classroom. It can also elevate personal engagement and shared community. I think as we saw with Yaritza and when she shared.
Okay, so finally, I'm going to talk to you about starting a code club using Minecraft. So as Dean explained, I'm Jen Hawkins, and I'm from Willowtown Community Primary School in Ebervale. I'm currently teach reception, but I've also taught Year 4 before as well. And today I'm going to talk about how to start a Minecraft club, and I'm going to talk about how to set up a Minecraft club, where to get some ideas from and some lesson plans from, some initial lessons that you might want to do, and then how I've used Minecraft. And I was going to do a demo, but because I'm now using my laptop, which hasn't got Minecraft on, I've just got some screenshots to talk you through as well. So as I said, I'm from Willowtown Primary, and just a little bit of background about our school then. We've had a big focus around technology, and we're actually a learning network school for STEM and maths. So we're lucky enough to have invested lots in technology, and we've got lots of different equipment such as a 3D printer. We've got an immersion room, which is basically a 3D interactive space that the children can use. We've also got a range of devices such as an ICT suite. We've got iPads for every class and Chromebooks as well. We focused a lot on coding, and we've used different robots such as Spheros. We've got Lego WeDo and Lego Mindstorms, and we've also got a Coder which is a robot specifically for foundation phase. And we've also got Dashbots as well. So just to talk a little bit about the Willowtown Code Club. So I started the club 2 years ago in 2018, and I initially began with just years 5 and 6, but I've now got year 4 involved as well. But it's definitely something that could be done across the school. So we focused initially on Scratch coding, which is a free programming website, because I first completed the Technocamp's coding training, and Scratch is generally one of the best things to kind of start out with because it uses block coding, which is the simplest type of coding. We entered lots of competitions, so there's lots of competitions out there, and we entered the All Wales coding competition and the DVLA coding competition, and there's also lots as well on the Code Club and Raspberry Pi website. So I run a separate Lego League club as well, which I took over from our last head. And the two clubs are very similar because there's lots of coding involved in both. So we were able to build Minecraft into both Code Club and the Lego Club as well. So it shows that it's really flexible. So just to talk a little bit about the benefits of Minecraft then and why Minecraft is useful for education. So there's so many benefits. These are just a few. So it helps to develop problem solving. It helps real life application. because it's the idea of designing before you build, which is obviously what happens in real construction jobs. There's lots of cross-curricular links. So, for example, with STEM, because you're designing and making, and there's lots of maths involved with kind of things like measurement, counting, area and perimeter, and even volume. I know you can do area and perimeter lessons as well using Minecraft. So it improves collaboration because the children are working together, and the different roles then teaches children the importance of teamwork. And it improves creativity and imagination because the children are designing and choosing materials. And then it develops their oracy because they have to give choices and justify their reasons for why they've chosen different things. And obviously as well, it supports coding, which is part of our science and technology area of learning. So to set up a Minecraft club then, so as I explained, I've got a code club and a Lego League club, and I've used Minecraft education across both these clubs. And I also used it in class as well, so it's really flexible. I wanted to make sure I had a range of year groups. So like I said, I started with years 5 and 6, but building year 4, and you could definitely have it from year 3 and maybe younger as well. I really wanted to encourage girls to join our club as well, since there's lots of information out there about trying to get girls more involved in STEM. So although we had lots of boys involved, I found girls, they wanted to join when they found out a little bit more about the club, and when they found out we had competitions, it kind of gave them a purpose. So as I said, we entered lots of competitions, and lots of these involved trips, which engaged the children further. And we also did lots of in-school competitions as well. So, for example, we have a well-being dog called Barney, and the children had to design an animation to show how Barney helps us. So some lesson plans and ideas then. So one of the first places to have a look is the Minecraft Education Edition website. There's lots of lesson plans and ideas of how to kind of use Minecraft across there. So as you can see on the screen, the first one shows a Build a Bees, like a series of lessons, and it's got the age ranges as well that you can use it with. But also if you go to, when you're on that website, if you look under class resources and find a lesson, there's lots of different cross-curricular links. So you can click on, for example, science, and then there's specific lessons around space. So if that was your topic, you could run some Minecraft through space. But the way I first got into Minecraft was through the Aspire to Be Go Construct Minecraft training with Dean. And that was a great introduction of how to use Minecraft in an educational way. So through the Go Construct training, I learned how to group the children into groups of 3. So that each child then has a role. So there's the project manager, who's the overall manager and kind of makes the final decisions. There's a construction manager who chooses the materials for building and has to justify the reasons why. And then there's also a designer who creates the design, which is then followed. They follow that to build it. And I ran Minecraft first with my year 4 class 2 years ago. You could follow the same structure as a club. So my initial sessions were firstly an introduction to Minecraft. So I used a world and I had instructions for them to follow to kind of know how to move around and how to build. Obviously, the children had really varying experiences of the Minecraft. So lots of them knew how to use it and they were better than me, but there were some that had never used it before. So when grouping the children, I just made sure that the experience was spread out amongst all the groups. And then we moved on then to a mini project, which was to build a private space. So we built a house, then we built a common space, which was a garden, and a public space, which was a shop. So here's just to show you some of the initial Minecraft sessions, some photos just to show you their designs. The children found this quite tricky to start with, and most of them just wanted to build straight away rather than do the design. But the idea is you use squared paper, and one square represents one block in Minecraft. So we started off with just kind of basic shapes like squares and rectangles. But then as the children got more confident, then they designed lots of different shape buildings. And then as you can see here, the children color-coded it to show what different blocks they wanted to use and what materials they used. And then they used a key on the side to make sure so you could see what all the different blocks were. And they followed this then when they actually did the building. And the children also used a Minecraft book as well to look up different materials, as you can see in the first photo, as well as Minecraft itself. So I was going to do a bit of a demo, but I've got a few screenshots instead. So how to log in. I'm going to go through how to log in, and then I'm just going to kind of show you how to create a world, how to host and join a world using the multiplayer mode, and some example worlds. So hopefully, you can still see my screen. Can you still see my screen? I've just switched to a screenshot. Let's see if I can share it so you can see my screenshots. Otherwise, I'll just talk through it a little bit. Okay, I'll just talk through it then. Hopefully you can see my PowerPoint again. So when logging in, so you need the Minecraft Education app, which is available on iPads, tablets, PC, and I think it's now available on Chromebooks as well. And when you sign in, you need to use your Hub account. So anyone with a Hub account can access Minecraft for free. And then once you've logged on to create a world, then you can either create a new world or you can join a world. So if you create a new world, you can look at different templates, which can be downloaded from the Minecraft Education website, or you can create a new world. So some tips for that would be to change the survival mode to creative. And this is just so you don't have to worry about dying and things. And it's obviously a bit more educational then. If you turn the coordinates on, children can tell you exactly where they're building, and if they kind of get lost, you can teleport them back to where they need to go. So I suggest switching coordinates on. And I always turn on always day so that they can see and so that it's not too dark, so they can see really clearly. And then right at the bottom, there's an option for classroom settings. So if you turn on perfect weather, that means then obviously it won't rain and they can see again really clearly. A mutable world then, if you turn this on, the children, if you turn it on, then the children won't be able to destroy or build. So that can be useful if you're just wanting children to look around the world, but obviously if you want them to move around and actually build and destroy, then you want to keep that off. But it's important to remember as well with Minecraft that if you destroy something, there's not an undo button. So you can't go back. You have to go back and rebuild it yourself. So a useful thing that I did is when I created a world, I made a copy. And then in case somebody destroys something by accident, you've still got that original world. So multiplayer mode then. When you go into the world, if you choose host, it will give you a join code, which is 4 icons. And then basically then the children can go in and they type those 4 codes, the 4 code in, and they can join the world. And then you can have lots of children join all at the same time and they can all kind of build together. So moving on then to Lego Club Minecraft. So as I mentioned earlier, we entered the first Lego League last academic year, and we used Minecraft as part of the innovation project. So the focus was city shapers, and the children had to design a block of flats. So they designed a block of flats with a rooftop garden and electric car charging, as you can see hopefully in the pictures. And then Kirsty Williams actually came to our school to have a look at the Go Construct project that our school was running. And she also saw some of the Lego League Minecraft that we were doing. And then the second photo there is just of the children at the Lego League competition, showing their Minecraft creation of the flats. So a way in which I found Minecraft really useful was during lockdown. So it shows that Minecraft is great for blended learning because it supports that link between home and school. I used it with my code club, so year 6, and also with reception. So I wanted a way that I could continue code club even though we were in lockdown, and I found Minecraft was perfect for that. So I set up a world and shared the code on Seesaw, which looks like this. Seesaw is a student portfolio where you can upload photos and evidence to a child's journal. So the children then would look at that join code, and they would join all at the same time from home. So what my code club would do is they voted what they wanted to build. And as you can see in that first photo there, they collaborated to build a zoo. And I found it really useful as well to communicate with the children over the chat via Minecraft, but also using boards. You can see that hopefully in the second photo. So I would write instructions for the children on the board at the point of where they entered the world. So when they entered, they'd have a board in front of them straight away, and they'd be able to follow instructions, because obviously I couldn't tell the children the instructions during lockdown. And I did also use it with reception as well, so it shows you can use Minecraft across the whole school. They mostly built quite freely, and they had help from like parents and siblings. But this second photo is a house built by a reception child. So something else we talked about then was the Minecraft Build-a-thon. So Aspire to Be also run a Build-a-thon, which is a great way for children to be engaged in Minecraft. So your club then can develop their designing and building skills with the purpose of entering the Build-a-thon. So as you can see here, the children, they had to design and build a sports ground with amenities. So our group built a cricket stadium, and it had a ticket booth, a shop where you can buy clothing, and a cafe to buy food. So just to talk a little bit about coding using Minecraft then. I was going to do a little bit of a demonstration, so it might be quite tricky to talk about this, but one place that you can find some information on coding is the Minecraft Hour of Code on the Minecraft Education website. And this can be extended then, even though it's an hour of code, you can extend it so that it's a lot longer. But basically on Minecraft, there's something called Code Builder. And you can use that, which you can see on the screenshot here. And it's used in block coding, which is great because that's the most simple form of coding anyway. And then there's lots of different tutorials on there. So I did a tutorial, a chicken rain one, where you can get chickens to spawn. But one of the main ways that I use, which I was going to try and show you today, was how to program to move an agent. So the red blocks, you can use those red blocks to move your agent, which is basically like a little coding person that appears on the screen when you go to Code Builder. So I set out kind of like a little obstacle course with lots of different blocks, and the children then would have to program to move the agent to go like up, down, left, right, etc., forwards, backwards, to control and move their agent across the screen. So thank you. It's a bit shorter than I wanted, sorry, because I've had a few technical difficulties and I haven't got Minecraft, so I can't actually demonstrate it and you can't see my screenshots. But hopefully that's given you some information and a few useful things to take away.
No problem, Jen. You mind if I ask you a few questions?
Yeah, of course.
Oh, great. First off, thank you for hanging in there. I know you had some problems there at the beginning, but
Yeah, sorry about
going
that.
from no, that's fine. They're going from the screenshots, and I know I've seen these in person, and you've shared some of those worlds the kids have made with you, and they're amazing. One of the things I wanted to ask you is, and I think you kind of touched on this in your presentation, is they're kind of adapting and using this now for remote learning purposes.
Yeah, so like I said, the main way I found it really useful is for home learning.
Yeah.
So we used it a lot during lockdown. So the children would vote for something they wanted to build, and it was good because they could all collaborate together, even though they were at home.
Yeah.
So they built a zoo. Like I said, I have got some screenshots. I'm not sure if I can work out how to show you those. And then I think they built a theme park as well. So yeah, they really enjoyed being able to do that. And you could kind of set a task then for them to do at home, whether it's kind of the actual designing or whether it's the building as well. So if we do go into another lockdown, as long as the teacher logs on at a certain time, which is what I did, I would just log on at like 3 o'clock every week. The children then would look on Seesaw, access the code, and go on and build collaboratively. So it worked really well.
And there was no problem, because I know originally you were using Scratch, and there was no problem going into Minecraft Education. You were
Not
using
at all.
Code in Education Edition, right?
No, not at all. The children picked it up really quickly, and especially the coding bit, because of it using block coding, which is very similar to Scratch. They just picked it up really quickly.
And one of the things I should have started with is, how are you and everyone at Willowtown doing now with all the things going on? Is everyone coping okay?
Yeah, we're doing okay. I think everyone's just tired, to be honest, just
Yeah.
getting back into it. The teachers and the children, it's a bit of a shock to the system, but yeah, we're all doing really well.
And I know that you guys are looking to use Aspire Ed, and we can't wait for you guys to join us on there and get on the forums and share these great ideas.
Yeah, great.
Well, thanks, Jen. I'm going to go ahead and switch over now, but I'm going to thank you again for presenting today. And we'd love to have you back, and then we'll get everything up and going so you can show everything that your club's up to currently this
Oh,
year.
thank you. I'm very sorry again about
Oh,
the
it's okay.
technical issues.
Thanks, Jen.
Thank
Have
you.
a good day. Bye.
Bye.
All right, guys. Thank you so much. First of all, thanks to Jen again for coming on and powering through. And the wonderful things that she shared on there, just the tips of the iceberg, and it kind of goes to what we wanted to do anyways today, and give you some ideas. And if you're really interested in going forward, we're going to have some hands-on sessions. Inspiration is led by me and some of the other learning technologists, so you can get some hands-on practice with uh, topic or apps such as Minecraft Education Edition and Make Code. In fact, we have an upcoming webinar talking about Make Code, as well as Make Code Arcade, which is another version of the coding app within Microsoft. So stick around for that, and also go to our registration page if you're interested in getting on and getting hands-on with some of the apps that we talked about today and some of the upcoming webinars. But I just wanted to show you the code one more time before we end our webinar today for the session. Our code for your Microsoft Innovative Educator. As you can see here, this is the badge you will get. You will also get a certificate for your CPD file from Microsoft and Aspire to Be, and that is the code here on your screen. Okay, if you have a recording, don't worry, it's going to be there, but we also have it here. And I just wanted to show you one more time how to redeem that code from education.microsoft.com. So once you create an account, if you're in Wales and using your hub account, or if you're outside of the UK or Wales, you can use your Office 365 Work or Education account, or your Microsoft personal account, which is Outlook or Hotmail. And once you've done that, you would click on your initials at the top right, This drop-down menu will show up. You can redeem the achievement code and then put your code from today here and redeem that. And then you should have a message about your badge. And one more time, the next steps. So today, again, this is just a taster or Fuel the Classroom Mentors, really to give you a taste of what really can help you on your journey as you go forward with Microsoft and Aspire to Be. If you want to get hands-on, please go to our registration page and sign up for our Inspiration Days on 24th and 25th of September, where we'll go forward with some of these apps that are the most popular and that we're contacted about from all of you, and we'll go forward with that. And then also take a look at our Microsoft EDU courses on Aspire Ed, 50% off for all webinar attendees, and also if your school is subscribed to Aspire Ed as well. And again, this is going to help your school and your own digital empowerment. And these are videos and tutorials by educators for educators. So we encourage you to really take a look at that when you can. Also, don't forget on social media, you can connect with Microsoft Education UK very easily on Twitter, Facebook, and YouTube. And if you want to contact Microsoft for anything in general about their products, please use the email educommunityuk@microsoft.com. If you have something in particular about Aspire to Be or Aspire Ed or the webinar today, contact us at info@aspiretobe.eu or just drop us a line. Or if there's an app in particular that you didn't see and you want information about and the hands-on sessions coming up, let us know. And again, I'll be sending out an evaluation form about today, a feedback form. We'd love to hear from you and what you have to say about today, and also win a chance to take your Microsoft Certified Educator exam for free when you're ready to do that. But I want to thank you all for attending today, and I want to thank our two presenters, Yaritza and Jennifer, for joining us today from New York and from Ebbw Vale here in Wales. And we'll see you tomorrow if you're registered for a course on the 16th. It is in Welsh, and it's going to feature Microsoft Teams. So if you haven't registered for that, please do so today on our registration page. Thank you very much, guys, and we'll see you next time.